Chapter 2. Furnace, Footier spoke up. What was the matter you were hoping to discuss with us? Yes. The other looked the lightning guardian in the eyes. Surely as our city was attacked by the wolves, we sent out a search party to try and find the young dragons who were taken from our first city. And like our new guardians, we haven't heard back from them. We feared the worst may have happened at this point. When the ice shouted, shook his head sadly. We tried to hold on to hope, but there hasn't been so much as a scout report from them in over 2 months. This is most troubling indeed. Footier curled his lips slightly. Have you sent anyone out to look for the scout group? Creel asked, rubbing his chin with a claw. Perhaps they ran into trouble and are in dire need of assistance. Unfortunately, the only other group of scouts we sent out has not been heard from near Mathos themselves. The friend shook his head broadly. We fear for the worst at this point. As do we. The other sighed and pawed at the ground, distraught by all the bad news that had been befalling them recently. With Malfoy restored, Malfoy? The blind elder exclaimed. He lives? I was under the impression that the purple dragon had vanquished him. Toda picked up the extreme tone of this dragon's voice, but wisely chose to ignore it. It was beyond Spyro's control or expectations, the guardian replied sternly, hoping to get the opposing elder in his place. None of us could have foreseen his coming. Not even Spyro. I somehow find that difficult to fathom, the other scoffed. The purple dragon has blessed abilities that most of us only dream about, and power that could easily bring this world to an end if you haven't forgotten. Creel took a brash step forward, surprising the dragon present. If you're implying the Spyro is going to turn out like Malfoy, I would suggest you rethink your opinion before you speak again. That young dragon has shown that he is far more powerful than Malfoy, the old brute. But he is not the kind of dragon who decides power. All of you calm down, Footier interrupted. I agree. Footier looked us with Lightning Guardian and nodded. The problem here is not Spyro. We owe him more than we could all possibly imagine. Toda sighed. You're right. We need to focus on Dark Master first. I'm sure Spyro, Cinder, and the other young guardians have their hands full with whatever plans Malfoy has laid out. So, what are we to do then? Another elder spoke up. Just sit back and wait for Dark Master to destroy our world again? What is Spyro and keep up beating him a second time? Oh, pish posh, and all that rubbish, grinned near spat. Spyro has proven himself time and again against all the odds and emerged victorious each time. I'm certain this time around it will be no different. Your covenant's overwhelming, the elder muttered, inciting an irritated growl from the guardian. Perhaps we should all get some rest, Footier groaned, seeing that they were not going to get past anything more than childish arguments. You've all had a long flight, and perhaps this issue will be better discussed when we've all had some sleep. A wise choice, Infernus bowed, thankful that the noise had settled down. The other elders followed his lead. We shall adjourn for the evening and see you first thing in the morning. Very well, Toda bobbed his head before they turned to leave. When Infernus and the others were out earshot, Creel turned to the Earth Guardian, still a bit flustered in clouds of rising from his jaws. Your thoughts, Theodore? The other dragon growled uneasily. Something about all of this doesn't feel right. I believe Malfoy may be planning something big for us. Like an attack against Spyro? Or the city? Creel raised a brow. He knew better to trust his old combat instincts. The other's hunches had saved him on multiple occasions during the years when Spyro had gone missing. Hard to say. The other dragon shook his massive head. But it makes sense that Malfoy would attack the dragon city since some of the others are away. So what do we do, Theodore? Bojax had seen much to the edge of the temple platform on the top of the stairs. Down below he could see the lights of the city begin to cast a fiery glow across the buildings and streets. Light was coming quickly and a breeze sent a chill through his old bones. I suggest that we put the sentries on low, just in case anything should be brewing outside our city walls. I think we should focus our attention inside the city as well, Theodore added. The dark must infiltrate the city detected once before. He may try another attempt. Then I will go see that all the necessary preparations are made. Creel shook himself awake as he marched past Footier and dove down to the city below. As the two remaining guardians watched him go, Theodore rolled his eyes massive shoulders. It was a twitch he displayed whenever he was nervous about something. If the Dark Master does not make another attempt at warfare, do you think we'll have the power to fight him off? Footier muttered darkly. Theodore was silent for a long time as she stared down the inhabitants of the Dragon City. I'd be lying if I were to say yes with 100% certainty. I was afraid you'd say that, Footier groaned. But if we're able to hold out until Spyro and the other guardians return, then we may have a chance. Footier sighed sadly and his ancient shoulders slumped. He was beginning to show his age more and more with each passing day. I I just hope the young ones are laughing together, he muttered. Cinder came to land on the ledge of a cliff. A few yards away was the entrance to the cave where she and the other guardians had spent the previous night. The young dragons had spent the last several days flying deeper and deeper in the frozen wastes of the mountain range. Food had been scarce, and they were all struggling to get by on what little scraps they had managed to salvage from each meal. Each time a new guardian took up the role of night watch. Thankfully, there had been no sign of Dark Dragon or its canine forces, but guardians weren't up to taking any chances. Dear ancestors, I am beat, Cinder groaned as she staggered to the back of the cave, where Flame had a fire waiting for her. Any luck finding anything, Cinder? Said as she walked up to greet her. Not really, Cinder murmured disappointedly. I found a lake that was frozen over and some fish that were frozen in the ice, but even they looked inedible. The guardians groaned to themselves, and their stomachs growled back at them in disappointment. The Black Dragon took a seat across the fire from Ember and Flame, who crowed on Spyro. The Purple Dragon had woken up from his ordeals as he had rescued him from Cinder's fallen fortress. He had been coming around just enough to cough up more blood for everyone to go into another state of panic, before slowing down enough for Ember to put him back asleep. Cinder's eyes filled with tears as she saw how withered away he had become. The once glorious, handsome Purple Dragon she had grown to love now looked like a starved, meatless rodent. His dull purple scales were covered in dry blood. His eyes had bags under them, and Cinder could see his bones poking through his skin lightly, or slightly. Her hero was an unhealthy mess, and it's probably all because of her. How is he? She asked after a long silence. Ember looked up at her with a slight smile. The good news is I think he's doing better. In comparison to yesterday, that is. And what's the bad news? Cinder braced herself for another sudden shock. Ember only shook her head. The bad news is he hasn't recovered enough to wake up. Cinder sighed and laid her head down on her front paws. Sal lay down beside her and draped a friendly wing over her back. It'll be alright. You'll see. It always is, she whispered. That's not what's bothering me, Cinder muttered in response. Do you want to talk about it? Sal asked gently, trying her best not to pressure her friend too much. Not right now, Cinder sighed. I'm too exhausted. Sal's smile faded slightly. She understood Cinder's worry for her mate and gave her a comforting squeeze with her wing. Fair enough. You rest up. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm right here. Thanks, Stella. Cinder cracked a slight smile before drifting off to sleep. Across the cave, Candace and Tremor were curled up together in a tight ball. Tremor was fast asleep, but Candace was having trouble staying asleep. Lately, every time she had gone to sleep, Tremor would wake her up by going into a fit of raucous coughing. He had insisted that he was okay, and it may have just been from the lack of water around, but Candace had known him long enough to detect when he was lying. When the other guardian's sides began to heave violently, Candace had enough. She had already been cranking from Spyro drilling blood on her the previous day, would carrying him while flying, and now she wanted to rest but couldn't. That's it, I can't take this anymore. She scurried away from Tremor, who didn't so much as twitch an eyelid. Are you alright, Candace? Sal asked when the ice guardian got to her finger and shook herself. I need some space and fresh air, Candace replied as she walked past the lightning dragoness and half from the front of the cave. I'll take watch tonight. She called back over her shoulder. Sal watched her go before taking a quick glance at Tremor, who was stuffily coughing in his sleep. She too had noticed his constant coughing, but had left the legend to Candace. Now that she was gone, Sal began to emanate a small charge of electricity in the other dragon's direction. Tremor stirred when he felt the ting of her energy surround his body. He had recovered enough from the grueling bout with the Northern Alpha with Snarl, but still wore those wounds reminded that he had been through a lot. But then again, they all did. As Tremor continued to breathe, Sal detected a faint disturbance in his lungs. She couldn't guess accurately what it was, but made a mental note for when Candace returned from guard duty. Candace had signed for the first few hours of her watch. The night sky made the entire world beyond the cave invisible. Even though she couldn't see it clearly, she could see the snowstorm of the range of mountains. Shortly after they had taken shelter from fleeing Leon's castle, a blizzard had struck, forcing them to stay for 3 days straight without any food or water. When it was safe enough to fly, they had moved quickly to find another hiding spot before the next storm hit. Along the way, they had only managed to find a few mountain sheep for food, but their meat was tough and fatty, unlike the first times they were used to. But as long as they had food, the guardians weren't going to complain. However, the last morsels of food had disappeared nearly a day and a half ago, with the exception of the rations they spared in case Spyro woke up. Much to their dismay he hadn't, but they refrained from splitting his portions anyways. Poor Spyro, she whispered as she let out a cloud of frost. She remembered back to the time when she had looked up to the Purple Dragon as a mentored friend, when she and the other guardians were constantly fighting against the Dark Master. She remembered back when Spyro had to save her and Tremor from the last training hall disaster. She chuckled to herself as she recalled the argument she and Trimmer had presented him with about hitting each other. Who would have thought? She smiled. Even though she was happy to be with Trimmer, she did miss the days when they would constantly bicker with one another. Maybe when this is all over we can go back to those days, she muttered aloud. Go back to what days? Spike's sudden appearance caused the dragon to jump in surprise and roar on him, hissing frost. Whoa, take it easy there, sweetheart. The dragonfly held his hands out submissively, trying to calm her down. It's just me. I'm sorry, Sparks, Candace sighed. You just startled me, that's all. I haven't been in the best of moods lately. You and everyone else. The dragonfly came to rest between her front legs. Candace was taken aback by his actions, but chose to let it slide. Ever since Spyro had nearly destroyed himself, everyone had been acting differently. Jimmy had been fairly quiet, only speaking when spoken to, and even then it was hard to get any words out of him. Stella had been comforting as usual, but her spirit seemed to have diminished slightly. Cinder hadn't so much as gone near Spyro for the reason she refused to speak of. Sparks had been bounced from one direction to the next, trying to keep himself preoccupied and refrain from thinking about his brother's current state. Amber was always preoccupied with taking care of Spyro. Despite the other guardian's wounds, they had insisted she focus her efforts on their proper friend. Flame had stepped up to take charge of the ragtag group of guardians. Although, rather than being his usual cheerful, friendly self, he had become more like a military leader, or one of the dragon elders. He seemed almost mature in Candace's eyes, but she knew he was putting on a face for them and behaving, to which she was almost certain the way his grandfather would have expected of him. I suppose that's true, Candace sighed and lay down, tucking Sparks close to her soft, smooth breast to keep him protected from the chill. Here in the cold, she felt stronger than ever, but the weather had brought down the morale of her fans, as well as Trimmer's health. Back inside the cave, she could hear the earth guardian erupt in a fit of coughing as Sarah trying to settle him down. The man shook with each record breath he took. Candace laid her head down and felt Sparks' tiny hand against her cheek. She cooed slightly at his comforting touch and closed one eye for some partial sleep. The night dragged on, and Candace found herself starting to doze off. By the time the light of day began to break through the clouds, her eyelids were starting to fall. Sparks had been asleep between her front paws beside her neck, keeping fairly warm the entire night. He yawned loudly and stretched his arms, accidentally poking Candace in a half-closed eye. The dragon's yelled and clutched her face. Oops, sorry about that, sweetheart. Sparks apologized hastily, unsure that worn-out dragon would be angry or not. To his relief, she was too fatigued. It's alright, Sparks. You didn't mean it. Candace whimpered as she rubbed her eye. It was tearing up, and she was doing her best to keep the fluid from fizzing up on her cheeks. Just don't make a habit out of it. No fun would that be? Sparks scratched her in his usual comical manner. Candace chuckled slightly. Something she felt she hadn't done in ages. When she finished rubbing her eye, she found her gaze directed up to the sky. As the fish in her eye returned, a shadow flickered through the fog. On instinct, the dragoness froze. Sparks, did you see that? She whispered. See what? Sparks yawned again and looked around. In the fog. Candace pointed to the spot where she had seen them try to move. I swear I saw something. Candace, you better not be joking with me. Sparks was beginning to feel edgy now, and he moved closer to Ice's guardian for protection. No, I'm not. Candace muttered sternly, her tail blade twitching anxiously as she continued to scan the skies. Just as she was about to turn back to the cave, she saw another flicker of movement. There! She screamed and sprang up into the air, leaving Sparks to tumble head over his thorax onto the ground. Hey, wait! He shouted, but Candace was already out of earshot. Oh man, he groaned as he picked himself up off the ground and watched the ice dragons disappear in the fog. This is not good.